Pakistan.
He has built his reputation as a renowned and highly successful cricketer, loved and admired by millions all over the world. But today, Imran Khan is the new leader of Pakistan, a nation precariously close to bankruptcy, a country struggling to contain the threat of religious conservatism and extremism. Can the new charismatic leader rebuild the country's tattered image and usher in a new era for Pakistan? Will he be the beacon of hope and progress in the religiously conservative and politically divided country? Or will he end up as a fallen hero in the nation's turbulent history? In 1992.
Imran Khan taking the offensive.
He smashed that one, beautifully hit down the ground.
A back from the dead victory. Pakistan was written off early in the Cricket World Cup, but by sheer luck, it scrapped through to the knockout stage and discovered a superhero, its captain, Imran Khan. Unbelievable as it was 27 years ago, when Pakistan won the Cricket World Cup, no less a fairy tale victory was Imran Khan's win in the general elections in 2018. Even a few years ago, it wasn't expected that the nation's former cricket superstar will lead the successful charge in the explosive political battlefield, becoming Pakistan's 22nd Prime Minister. But proving his critics wrong, the charismatic leader turned the tables on his opponents, promising to change the face of his nation.
We are talking about a person who wants to take his personal ambitions, his sense of commitment to do something for the country and for the people to another level. And that means, impacting the lives of the people, you have to do politics.
But politics was a totally different ball game. Stepping out of the cricket field, Khan started off on his new journey by focusing on social work, building state-of-the-art private hospitals for cancer patients and a college in a remote district of Punjab. In 1996, Khan set up his own political party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or Movement for Justice, to bring about social and political change in the country. But the political road was far more treacherous than his ascent to the summit in the sporting arena. Khan met with successful failures, and in the 2002 general elections, his party won just one seat in the federal parliament. But Khan persevered in his new mission without ever giving up.
If there's one quality that you can perhaps attach to his politics, that is perseverance. He's persevered through very difficult times, through being a non-entity in politics, through being a one-seat party entirely. So he's seen it all.
For years, his party had struggled to break the dominance of the more established mainstream parties like Pakistan Muslim League and the Pakistan People's Party. But Khan's political fortunes improved dramatically in 2011. His anti-corruption drive against the former president Asif Zardari finally energized the lower, middle class and elites of the Pakistani society. Hundreds of thousands of people came out in the streets demanding an end to corruption, catapulting Khan to the forefront of the nation's political race as a crusader against rampant corruption and a champion of the poor.
people got fed up with the misgovernance. They saw the political dynasties not delivering, and that impatience led to try to welcome another new face, another politician, i.e. Imran Khan, and that is why I think he chipped in. He capitalized on that resentment, that feeling of frustration among the masses, and he gave a very fresh slogan that he wants to change for them.
The PTI, or the Movement of Justice, was expected to win the 2013 general elections, riding on the wave of resentment against corruption. But days before the elections, Khan had a fall while campaigning and sustained serious injuries. The PTI lost the elections to former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Muslim League amid allegations of massive rigging and electoral fraud.
Probably PTI led by Imran Khan had won the elections, but there were apprehension within the military establishment that if he is allowed to form a government, then there may be troubles. He may order the military to shoot down US drones, and that could have had a clash with US, which has been, technically speaking, as an ally of Pakistan. So they didn't want that kind of leadership. Therefore, there was rigging and military had a role in it, and they brought in Nawaz Sharif.
Blaming the military for rigging the vote in favor of the then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, Khan launched a protest outside the country's parliament. Finally, in 2016, the anti-corruption campaign gained fresh momentum when Sharif and his family got embroiled in the Panama Papers scandal. Leaked documents showed that 3 of Mr. Sharif's children owned several properties in London linked to offshore companies in the British Virgin Islands. That led to Mr. Sharif's downfall in 2017, and he's now facing arrest on money laundering charges. Khan emerged the winner in the 2018 general elections. As part of his campaign pledge, Khan also promised to bring back billions of dollars of the country's looted wealth, allegedly stashed away by corrupt politicians abroad.
जो मर्जी आपने करना आप कर लें, कान खोल के सुन लें कि NRO नहीं मिलना मैंने लगा, किसी करप्ट आदमी को मैं नहीं छोड़ने लगा। मैं ये अवाम से वादा करके आया था कि मैं इस मुल्क में करप्ट लोगों को जेलों में डालूंगा।
Imran Khan will also face a tough time trying to make true his promises of bringing back the looted wealth, because he cannot do it without becoming a proper part of international legal regime to bring back the looted money.
Getting back looted wealth, if at all possible, will take enormous time and efforts. But the country's debt-ridden economy needs an immediate fix to avoid disastrous international loan defaults. Pakistan's dwindling foreign exchange reserves stood at $8.4 billion in November 2018, giving the government only a few weeks of breathing space before running into bankruptcy. The current account deficit has widened. The currency, the rupee, is sliding.
For 60 years, Pakistan accumulated roughly $40 billion of debt. And in the last 10 years, we accumulated $55 billion of debt. And from 2013 to 2018, the previous regime, we accumulated $35 billion of debt. So you can see that how recklessly the country borrowed, and it drowned the country under debt.
The economic crisis has forced the government to knock on the doors of the International Monetary Fund for a bailout package worth billions of dollars. But experts believe such an IMF bailout could merely be a short-term measure, coming as it does with stringent terms and conditions.
Every time, whenever we face problem, instead of taking that as a challenge and addressing that issues with the homegrown reform program and policies, we just go to the IMF. We get resources and we relax, and then once the IMF program is over, after 2 years or 1 year, we come back to the same problem. Because we are not addressing the problem. So going to the IMF is a temporary solution.
As the economic crisis deepens, many young people are looking up to the new government to make a difference in their lives. Pakistan is one of the youngest countries in the world, with 64% of the population below the age of 30 and 29% between the ages of 15 and 29. A recent UN report estimates that the country needs 4.5 million new jobs over the next 5 years. But with unemployment rate at about 5.9% and 30% of young people without jobs, it's a daunting challenge for the new leader.
Pakistan has the youngest population in the world. So a young population needs jobs. You need opportunities, you need investment. And unfortunately, at the moment, we have the highest unemployment in our history.
Like tens of thousands of other young people, Fakhtar Ali Shah is pinning his hopes on the new leader who has promised to create 10 million jobs in the coming years. 25-year-old Shah did his PhD in pharmacy in 2016, but hasn't found a regular job since then. Now he hopes the new government will create more opportunities for educated people like him.
Corruption हो रही है, इसलिए हमें नौकरी नहीं मिल रही है. तकरीबन मैंने 500-600 जगह से ज़्यादा अप्लाई किया. तकरीबन मैंने 1 साल लगाया है अप्लाई करने के लिए. कुछ नहीं, जाओ इंटरव्यू दो और कुछ नहीं. जो जिसके प्रेफरेंस नहीं है, अगर किसके प्रेफरेंस होता प्रेफर करते, आप कुछ और करते तो ठीक, और नहीं प्रेफरेंस नहीं होता, आपने बिना पे जाते तो कुछ नहीं होता. हाँ, और अगर जाते भी तो इतनी सैलरी ऑफर कर रहे थे कि आप खुद परेशान होते कि क्या इसमें मैं रहूँगा, अपने आप को पालूँगा या घर के लिए कुछ दूँगा.
The government has also launched an ambitious housing project. It plans to set up 5 million homes for the poor as part of the election pledges. That would help solve the country's housing woes and create more jobs for the young.
Construction is the most labor-intensive sector anywhere in the world. It creates jobs from a non-technical person to skilled manpower. You need mason, carpenter, painter, engineer, all kinds of jobs will be created once construction sector is revived.
I'm having a fear that just to meet the number, the government may end up producing bad jobs. These are elementary skills, sort of the street sellers, the electricians, the kind of guys, they can come up with the number, but actually they will be worsening the situation, and they have been worsening because they are associated with low productivity, and they are associated with low wage, low income, not only for the present generation, but for the next generation as well.
And to make matters worse, many young Pakistanis have found it very hard to break the culture of corruption in the country. Yasin Ayaz, for example, did his master's from Quwad Al-Azam University 4 years ago. But until today, he has not been offered a job despite numerous attempts. He believes he was refused jobs in government departments due to an ingrained culture of corruption and nepotism.
Of course, culture of nepotism is still there in Pakistan. This is not only Yasin which have faced this kind of behavior in the government departments. There are so many hundreds and thousands of Pakistani youngsters which they have faced this kind of behavior in government departments. Pattern of corruption is very different. They demand money, they demand influential persons, to contact with influential persons. These are the basics, these are the main causes or reasons of corruption in Pakistan.
Imran Khan has come to power promising to end corruption and put the economy back on track. Apart from trying to head off a full-blown economic crisis, the new Prime Minister faced major security challenges and threats from the conservative right. A Supreme Court acquittal last October of a Christian woman facing blasphemy allegations, brought extremists to the streets, calling for her execution. Can the new leader now walk a tightrope between extremist demands and liberal mainstream values to take the country forward? Or will he be bogged down by militancy and security challenges that proved to be the undoing of his predecessors of the past?
कौन सी हुकूमत चल सकती है जिधर कोई आदमी खड़ा होके कहे कि जजेस को भी कत्ल कर दो और कहे आर्मी चीफ के खिलाफ भी बगावत कर दो, लोगों को भी सड़कों पे निकाले, सड़कें भी बंद कर दे, जिसमें एक हुकूमत का क्या कसूर है इसमें? तो कौन सी हुकूमत चल सकती है ऐसे? कौन सा मुल्क चल सकता है? आगे हम इतने मुश्किल माशी बुरहान से निकल रहे हैं। मैं आपको अपील करता हूं कि रियासत को उधर तक ना लेके जाएं, वो मजबूर हो जाएं एक्शन लेने के लिए।
Shortly after he assumed office in August 2018, Imran Khan found himself drawn into a political minefield that no politician dared to tread. He now has to wage a dangerous political battle against ultra-Islamists and religious extremists. In October last year, thousands of people took to the streets of Karachi, demanding the public execution of a Christian lady for alleged blasphemy. It all started in 2009, when the Christian mother of 5, Asia Bibi, was accused of committing blasphemy against Prophet Muhammad. She was convicted and sentenced to death in 2010. The then governor of Punjab province, Salman Taseer, promised to free Asia Bibi. Before he could do that, Taseer was assassinated by a police guard under the influence of far-right parties. The Lahore High Court upheld Asia Bibi's sentence. She then approached the Supreme Court as a last resort, seeking repeal of her sentence. On October 31, 2018, the Supreme Court acquitted Asia Bibi. That led to street protests across the country. This was the first major law and order crisis the new government faced after coming to power. Since the blasphemy law was introduced in 1986, more than 60 under-trial blasphemy prisoners and suspects have been killed by mobs in and outside jails over the years. The law makes it a criminal offense to use derogatory remarks against the Prophet.
It's a very, very big issue. The issue is so serious that at one point, even I thought that Pakistan is hurtling towards civil war. That's the kind of seriousness in this issue. They're in a state of mental fix, how to handle it. In the first reaction, the Prime Minister gave a very tough, very straightforward, tough warning to the Labbaik people. But on the second and third day, the party tried to have some kind of a arrangement with the protesters.
I see a more extreme right-wing trend happening in society. You know, there were fringe elements that were able to organize as political parties and got significant votes in the 2018 elections. Now, that's a very dangerous trend.
The government, however, maintains that the state of the country's economy plays a big part in influencing the mental state of people. According to Mr. Shibli Faraz, Pakistan's Commerce Minister, the lack of economic opportunities will drive people to take up a radical cause.
When you have no jobs, when you have no security, when you have all these issues, then obviously such forces, people take refuge, or as a reaction they go to such outfits. Now, once the economic development takes place, when there is social justice, when there are people who can count on the government, then they would not. So basically the idea is that this is a reflection of how the people of this country are being treated is a direct reflection of if people support such outfits.
The conservative far-right groups have demanded that the ruling must be overturned and the death sentence has to be carried out. But observers say the ruling and the resulting violence is a mere manifestation of a deeper malaise afflicting the society. There's an ongoing battle between the moderates who believe that the country should be governed by laws and the extremists and religious far-right groups who are pushing for a conservative Islamic agenda. Imran Khan is also known as a leader who does not often stand up to the hardliners. Like other mainstream political leaders, Khan is also seen as someone who tended towards showing sympathy for the religious conservatives to secure votes in the last general elections.
Imran Khan's party represents the religious sentiments, the right-wing sentiments, and he captured a lot of votes, by the way, in the last election because of that reason. These religious parties and religious groups have obtained close to 5 million votes in the last general elections, and that's a huge vote. Now, no political party, no matter how powerful they may be, they cannot bring any amendment in the existing scheme of law which could be perceived that government is trying to play to the Western galleries, trying to please them. So in years to come, I think there is going to be rise of right-wing and religious parties in Pakistan. They have gone more strong.
So instead of following up on his progressive agenda, he tends towards stepping back and then caving in to the overwhelming pressure from the ultra-Islamists. For example, the government signed a deal with the protesters, giving in to a key demand that Asia Bibi would not be allowed to leave the country until the top court hands down its final ruling on a fresh petition against her acquittal. However, the government justifies its controversial agreement, saying it was a tactical move to prevent the situation from getting worse.
किसी को भी ये गलतफहमी नहीं होनी चाहिए कि रियासत इस रवैये को माफ़ करेगी। किसी को भी ये गलतफहमी नहीं होनी चाहिए कि ये जो मामला जिस तरह से चले हैं इससे जो एक फौरी तासुर आया है, हुकूमत की कमज़ोरी का जो तासुर लिया जा रहा है, वो इंशाअल्लाह ताला हम उसमें जो इक़दामात करेंगे उससे जल्द ही ये तासुर भी दूर होना होगा इंशाअल्लाह और होगा।
Apart from the radical elements, the government faces another security issue that could prove to be tough to handle. Khan himself made several promises over the years that he would bring back hundreds, if not thousands, of ordinary civilians who have gone missing from different parts of the country. Their families have no clue about what happened to them or who kidnapped them. Many have alleged that elements in the country's dreaded security services were responsible for the disappearances.
Imran Khan has an uphill task in addressing the grievances of the family members of those who have been missing for over a decade now, many of them for over 13, 14 years now. And their children have grown up without their fathers, their brothers. And I think this is very unfortunate that in spite of some of the due process having been initiated on the orders of the court, even that due process has not been completed against many of the accused persons who happen to be belonging to the intelligence agencies duly nominated in the complaints before the police.
Thousands of Pakistani citizens have gone missing under the cover of war on terror. They've been picked up from their homes and they have not returned. There have been strong protests in parts of Pakistan to bring back those people. Where are they? They are either with the intelligence agencies or some of them have been handed over to the Americans secretly.
The powerful security establishment has denied such allegations, but many ordinary citizens who lost their loved ones are not convinced. 14 years ago, Amna Januja was leading a happy, fruitful life with her businessman husband, Masood Janjua, and her 3 children. Masood never came home after he went out on a business trip with a friend.
He had to go to Peshawar along with his friend Faisal Faraz. He's an engineer from Lahore, and both Masood and Faisal, they were on their way to Peshawar. That was the day of 30th July 2005, and morning 9 a.m. both of them departed from home, from this home. And I went downstairs to say goodbye to him, like I always do. And they were going for 3 days only, so I just told him to be call me whenever you can. So I was saying, looking at him when he was walking away, and because our car was out of order, so they had to take a bus. That's a very good bus service, Devu bus in Rawalpindi, which they had to take. That's about couple of kilometers away. So from there their journey started, which maybe never ended. He never called back. I never came to know what happened to him, and I never saw him since that day.
The family's nightmare began soon after. Even though the family may have strong connections with the government and the military, they couldn't get any information on his whereabouts.
First we were thinking it might have been an accident, but he wasn't anywhere in the hospitals. He was nowhere to be found with the human rights groups, nowhere at all. So then we started thinking that it might have been something like, even in those days we were hearing a lot about the kidnappings and abductions for sake of the US and for sake of bounties of dollars. So we were hearing these stories.
Amna's father-in-law is a retired colonel who knew the former President Pervez Musharraf well. Both had served together in the army, and he was granted an appointment with the president. In spite of all the promises, nothing concrete came out of the meeting.
My father-in-law and President Pervez Musharraf were together in the SSG commando training in Cherat. So my father-in-law was actually quite senior to the president. So he had great regard for my father-in-law and said, okay, Raja Saab, your son is missing for the last 5 months. My father-in-law said yes. Said, okay, I'll do something about it. Months later, a call we received from the military secretary of the President House. He was General Shafkat. And he told my father-in-law that your son is alive. But he also told that you should not disseminate this information to your family or to Amina and her children. So my father-in-law said, how come it's possible that I should not tell the wife of my son, and of course the mother of Masood Janjua? Everybody is so worried and they are such big anxiety. So of course I will tell him, and please, would you let me know where you have got this information, what are his whereabouts, so that I can also use my own resources and go there. So the military secretary just said that that's the only information we have got so far, and we can't give you any more information, and he hung up.
After months of living in the dark, Amna and her friends came out on the streets in Islamabad demanding information and justice. Hundreds joined the protests, and that's when Amna came to know that they are not alone in their struggle.
Our first protest was on in 2006 on 4th September, and we were sitting before the Parliament House, and that continued for 2 months. And during those 2 months, a lot of families came there and they joined our camp. Some of them from Karachi, some of them from Balochistan, and there was one from Lahore, which was the family of Faisal Faraz. I got information that the fathers, the brothers, the wives, they were just simply running here and there, and these loved ones are disappeared. And they were taken away mysteriously, maybe on charges of terrorism, maybe suspected as terrorists. But actually, when I came to know their stories, they were all plain, simple people. Some of them engineers, some of them like businessmen, some of them even very simple people like electrician, as simple as that.
Amna's daughter, Aisha, was just 9 years old when her father went missing. But she cannot erase her pain, and the struggle to find her father has also become a part of her.
I was weeping and I was screaming. I remember myself doing that as well, because it was quite traumatic for me. You know, my brother was taken away from me, and my mother, she was also being manhandled, and obviously my other brother, he was trying to hold me and he was trying to calm me, but I could not even, you know, think of anything else at that moment. You have taken my father away from you, and you have taken our childhood away from us. So you cannot take, or you cannot do such a treatment to the citizens of Pakistan.
Public resentment over the unprecedented scale of enforced disappearances has increased, particularly in the country's northwest. The movement for missing citizens is now gaining momentum, with thousands seeking information and justice. More and more people are questioning the role of the intelligence agencies in the illegal detention of citizens under the cover of a war on terror.
So at least some progress has been made. I agree, all is not good enough. But people are being traced, people are being located, and people are raising their voice and speaking out. So I think that this is important, that this process must be very transparent, and Parliament should have a united position on that. I think it's not an issue of opposition or government. It's an issue of humanity, it's an issue of legality, it's an issue of human rights.
It's not just ordinary citizens whose lives have been torn apart by the continuing conflict in the region. The army too is paying a heavy price in the war that shows no signs of abating. In July 2014, 28-year-old Army Captain Muhammad Mujahid Bashir was carrying out an operation against militants in the border region of Bajaur in the northwest of the country. The army camp was raided by Afghanistan-based Pakistani Taliban militants. 3 army personnel were killed, including Captain Mujahid. But Mujahid's mother, Nazira Bibi, believes her son did not die in vain.
हर रोज़ वैसे ही रूटीन से बात करता था, और 1-2 दफ़ा उसने शहादत की बात की थी, तो मैं मेरे से कह रहा था कि अम्मी मुझे शहादत की के लिए दुआ करें और इजाज़त दें। तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, अब जैसे अल्लाह की मर्ज़ी और आपकी नेक ख्वाहिश। मैं तो एक मुजाहिद क्या सब देने को, कुर्बान करने को तैयार हूँ। मुझे तो, मैं तो कहती हूँ कि काश मेरे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चे होते, मैं अपने मुल्क की खातिर देती, इस्लाम की खातिर।
इंशाअल्लाह हमारी नई हुकूमत जो आई है उसमें बहुत अच्छा जज्बा है मुल्क को संवारने का, अपने पाँव पे खड़े करने का, और इंशाअल्लाह पूरी कौम भी उनका साथ देगी, और दहशतगर्दी का उसी तरह मुँह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाएगा जिस तरह पहले हम पिछले 4 साल से दे रहे हैं। और मुझे उम्मीद है कि दुश्मन जो है वो खुद ही समझ गया होगा कि इस कौम के साथ जो है मत्था लगाना जो वो है वो सूदमंद नहीं है, क्योंकि ये मरने से तो डरते नहीं हैं, मरना तो ये अपनी शहादत को तो अवलीन तरजीह देते हैं। तो इसलिए इनसे बस चोरी छुप के वार कर सकता है, सामने आके वो इस कौम से नहीं लड़ सकता।
As far as the terrorism is concerned, we will have zero tolerance for that, and we will make sure that this country is peaceful and people, including foreigners, local people, can come and go in without any fear or without any threat.
Imran Khan has promised to bring the missing persons back to their family members and relieve them of their pain. A large number of suspected terrorists were detained by Pakistani secret services following the US-led invasion of Afghanistan in late 2001. Many among the suspects were allegedly handed over to the US. No formal charges were brought against them in most of the cases. Pakistan's relations with the US are now strained, and Khan needs to have the army's full support on defense and foreign relations. Can Imran Khan improve the relations with US President Donald Trump, who has openly accused Islamabad of lies and deceit? Or will Pakistan's first superstar leader meet with the same fate as his predecessors, who were either deposed by the army or met with a tragic end? "18 years have passed since the war began in Afghanistan, which toppled the Taliban regime. But there seems to be no end to the conflict. The ultra-fundamentalist insurgent movement remains a resilient and capable fighting force. Until today, it still poses a significant threat to the government of President Ashraf Ghani. Tens of thousands of people, including Pakistani troops, have so far died in the protracted war. It has drained the country of its resources. It has also made Pakistan more vulnerable to terrorist attacks. Though terror attacks inside Pakistan have gone down in recent months, the security situation is far from stable.
Now, terrorism is not as lethal as it used to be, because when the American footprint in Afghanistan was bigger, it led to a bigger reaction. And so the call for jihad, call for getting rid of the Americans, especially in the Pashtun belt, there was a lot of unrest, because whatever happens in Afghanistan, in the Pashtun belt of Afghanistan, has an impact on Pakistan Pashtun belt. But as the American footprint has got smaller, this level of fanaticism is also going down. And what we hope is that one day, if there is peace in Afghanistan, Pakistan will become stable after that.
But to bring back stability to the country, the new Prime Minister will have to work in tandem with the army. The military is widely perceived to be the final and absolute decision maker on security and foreign policy issues. It's also the most powerful institution in Pakistan. And critics believe it wields enormous power beyond the realm of defense, extending to civilian, social and political spheres as well.
Pakistan's political thought has evolved to a point where everyone realizes there's a consensus, even amongst the military, that martial law is not an option. So therefore, I do not think that we will have those fears again. When you have very incompetent, corrupt governments, then they lose space to the military, which is far more organized, more efficient. It's a strong institution. But it's because of the failure of democratic governments to perform. The only strength, the power of a democratic government comes through its performance.
There have been reports that former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was ousted because he tried to ease the army's grip on power. Both sides had clashed on several key foreign policy issues, including Sharif's efforts to forge closer relations with India and Afghanistan. The army, which projects itself as the protector of the nation, often sees the civilian government as corrupt and not well versed with hard geostrategic realities in the region and beyond.
Military had reports, at least they had perception, that Nawaz Sharif was basically more in league with the Americans and Indian narrative. In what manner? the ongoing insurgency in Afghanistan should be resolved, in what manner the Kashmir dispute should be resolved, and then also because of the fact that the Nawaz Sharif in an interview and also through different leak reports, he created an impression in Pakistan trying to send a signal to the outside world that military is blocking his policy to contain insurgency and militancy in the region. And I think that has not gone down well.
Will Imran Khan encounter the same problem with the army as he tries to restore stability in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region?
There was a cleavage, there was a divergence between the army leadership and Nawaz Sharif on many foreign policy narratives and also as to how to go about. And now with Imran Khan taking over, I think that gulf, that divergence has been bridged. They are on the same page, and I think this is why when he went to GHQ, he was briefed, he was received with open heart.
I think this will be a test case for the so-called claim of the government and the military on the same page now with Imran Khan becoming Prime Minister. This will be a test case.
Pakistan is a security state. He's trying to build a social Islamic social state. They don't go together. There has to be a clash.
The new government's focus will be to work towards peace in Afghanistan as soon as possible. But it's a task that's easier said than done. Khan, for years, has blamed the US for the protracted conflict in Afghanistan and the rise of militant and terrorist activities in Pakistan. He also criticized the US for treating Pakistan both as an ally and an enemy. He even argued for peace talks with the Taliban. However, upon assuming office, Khan quickly toned down his anti-US rhetoric, seeking negotiations with Washington. But US President Donald Trump remains unmoved. Trump slashed security aid to Pakistan after calling the country a safe haven for Afghan terrorists. He says Pakistan has all along played a double game, working with the US in Afghanistan on one hand, while quietly helping the Taliban on the other.
Pakistan has been under tremendous pressure time and again that Pakistan needs to do more to end insurgency inside Afghanistan. And I think that is, by the way, very exaggerated, because 70% territory inside Afghanistan is controlled by Afghan Taliban. And there are credible allegations, and Americans, by the way, themselves have been accusing Russia and Iran of providing sanctuaries to Afghan Taliban. Pakistan's role is very, very limited.
As the conflict drags on, the country's economy continues on a downward spiral. It's relying on financial assistance from friendly countries and international donors as a short-term solution to its economic woes. If the new government cannot turn the economy around quickly, people's disenchantment with a leader will grow. For unemployed pharmaceutical graduate like Fakhr Khan, Imran Khan is their only hope. They have voted for him, hoping the economy will turn around and the vicious cycle of violence will end.
नई हुकूमत से हमारी ये उम्मीद वाबस्ता है कि अब चलो ये मेरिट पे आई है और मेरिट की बात करते हैं, करप्शन की बात करते हैं कि चलो ये हुकूमत इससे करप्शन ये ख़िलाफ़ काम करेगा तो जितनी करप्ट वज़रा है उनको पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे, जितना माफिया है, ड्रग माफिया है, डॉक्टरों के मिले और थोड़ी इसके हाथ बंद हो जाएंगे, करप्शन कम हो जाएंगे, तो अपॉर्चुनिटी कानून लागू हो जाएंगे तो इससे हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी। अगर सच्चा कानून लापेस हो जाता है फार्मासिस्ट के लिए, सारे कम्युनिटी के लिए, तो हर को अपने हुकूक मिलेगा, तो नौकरी आसानी से मिल जाएगी। अगर हुकूमत नहीं देगी तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर में अच्छी से अच्छी नौकरी मिल जाएगी, क्योंकि उसको पता होगा कि अगर मैं कुछ इलीगल करूँगा तो हुकूमत मुझे नहीं छोड़ेंगे, हुकूमत मुझे पकड़ेगी, तो इस डर की वजह से सारा कानून पर लागू करेगा और उसको हमारे जैसे बहुत से बंदों को जॉब मिल जाएगी।
But others like Yasin Alyaz believe major reforms are needed for the new government to regain people's trust.
There should be some kind of policy changes. There should be some kind of institutional reforms in the institutions of Pakistan, in the departments, government departments, in the ministries, in the divisions, which can built the hope of the people of Pakistan, which can, their trust of people should be reinstated in government departments.
For now, Imran Khan has raised the people's hopes and aspirations. He's still enjoying a degree of goodwill across the nation. But the honeymoon period and collective sense of euphoria will not last very long. A divided and restive nation needs quick action on several fronts. It's not clear yet how Khan can turn things around.
If Imran Khan cannot perform, cannot deliver, then there will be a huge shift. Then it will be very difficult how society reacts. Because here is a party that is able to galvanize an entire generation, youth. We'll bring change, we will improve your education, we'll invest in people, we'll invest in health, we'll create jobs, we'll bring back looted money, we will revive the economy, we will destroy this begging bowl. Now, if nothing of the sort happens, and I don't see it happening, I don't think there is a team for it, I don't think there is a plan for it, I don't think they are focused for it. I think they are totally lost. Right now, the feeling I'm getting is they are like headless chicken. They don't know what's happening.
I think he has a good record of being an honest man of integrity, and therefore I don't foresee any possibilities of corruption or scams or those kind of things, because he'll keep a very tight look on it. He came in from the outside of the system. So therefore, his success is important to many who have linked their hopes onto him. He was voted perhaps the highest in Pakistan's history in terms of the popular vote. So if that be the case, then a lot of people have invested their hope in him. I think, God forbid, if he's unable to make his targets true, stated targets true, or he does not come up to the expectations of the people, I think it will be a huge disappointment.
Pakistan has gone through decades of political turmoil since its independence 72 years ago. No Prime Minister has ever completed his or her full term in office throughout the country's checkered democratic history. One Prime Minister was hanged. One President died mysteriously in a plane crash. Another Prime Minister was assassinated. And another former President is now in exile, facing treason charges. The second last Prime Minister is facing a jail sentence on money laundering charges. Unstable political systems, weak institutions, deep economic crisis, and religious intolerance have put a tremendous pressure on the country struggling to survive against heavy odds. Can the former cricket superhero bring the country back to normalcy and fulfill the dream of turning Pakistan into a modern Muslim welfare state? Or will Imran Khan become another failed leader in a country riven by extremism and crippled by debt? Will he be Pakistan's savior, or a Prime Minister who will become a mere political tool of the powerful army and the religious conservatives? Nobody knows, at least for now.